Exercise 314, Part 2, is asking us to take the adjustments that we computed in Part 1 and apply them to the trial balance that they gave us, the unadjusted trial balance. Well, the unadjusted trial balance included cash of $10,000, and we had no adjustment to that, so we'll just carry that over. Accounts receivable was $15,000, and again there was nothing there, so we'll carry that over. Now prepaid rent was $7,200, so prepaid rent was $7,200. That was the prepaid rent account, but we had an adjustment of prepaid rent of $2,400. So we did this, we had a credit to prepaid rent and a debit to rent expense of $2,400. So we have to reflect that, so our prepaid rent was $72, it's now $48. Our supplies, if you remember, was that one where they gave us all that nonsense, but it was basically supplies were $4,000. They're now $800, so we had to do the debit to supply expense of $3,200 and credit supplies for $3,200. That leaves us a balance in the supplies account of $800 and $3,200 in supply expense. So might as well grab that while we're running through here. Then we're told we had some deferred revenue. And our deferred revenue coming into the period was $3,000, but during this we recognized $750 of that deferred revenue, and they just told us that. So our deferred revenue is now $2,250, and let's pick a different color. I think purple for deferred revenue. What do you think? I also think I add funny or subtract funny. $2,250, $3,000, take away $750, $2,250. And now our revenue is going to have to be adjusted for that because our revenue was $51,200. They give us that, but we have to increase that. So the revenue, they tell us, the service revenue is $51,200, plus we have that $750 adjustment. So that takes our revenue to $51,950, just incorporating all of these changes. And I'm trying to do it as I go through to make sure I get them all, I don't miss anything. Then we have our salaries payable, and on our unadjusted trial balance we don't have any salaries payable, we just have salaries expense, so we have to include salaries payable because we add that for the 4 days at the end of the year. And the salaries payable is $700. And we have to remember to add that down here to salary expense when we get there. Oh hell, let's just do it now and be done with it. We're told that the salary expense is $3,500, so we add the 35,000, excuse me. And we'll do that in oh, I don't know, let's pick another color, light blue. So that makes that 35,700 for salary expense. Because we had to bring in the salaries payable to increase the salary expense. So where are we at? We're at common stock. There were no stock transactions. So the common stock remains the same at 11,000. Now go back to black. The retained earnings, we haven't completed the accounting cycle yet, so we can't figure out the income, so we can't close the retained earnings. This is the adjusted trial balance. This is before we close the accounts, before we move everything to retained earnings. So the retained earnings would be exactly what it was at the beginning of the year, 6,000. And then we're told we have rent expense. Our rent expense we hadn't recognized before, so we have to bring that up. We have this $2,400 of prepaid rent, this $2,400 of rent expense. So we just have to make sure that we incorporate all of the adjustments into the trial balance. And when we do that, we find that our trial balance does indeed balance at $71,900. Not a difficult problem, except for me who can't write down the numbers as I'm saying them. It's just a problem where you have to make sure that you pick up each and every piece. Okay? So it does indeed balance at $71,900. Just make sure you read carefully and grab every piece. Check them off as you go through.